And we are live. Welcome back to all of our new Sparksters. If you haven't been online for a while, then apologies, but you have missed probably some of the biggest, most epic campaigning that you've probably seen in the crypto space for a couple of years, to a degree where both Sam and I are getting inundated with notifications. So it's obviously very exciting times for us. But today, Spark Spaces episode 10. I can't believe it's already 10. I was thinking about that. I mean, that's like 10 weeks of high intensity work and some amazing projects and amazing collaborators in the space. But today, obviously, we announced this week our integration with Optimism and Unichain. And today we've got the pleasure of welcoming Pierce to the spaces with Sam and myself. Sam, of course, is the CEO and co founder of Phoenix Labs, integral developers and builders behind Spark. And Pierce, you are the head of DevX and growth at Optimism. So welcome to Spark Spaces. And how are things on your side?
Good. Yeah, happy to be here. As you mentioned, really focused on DeFi growth, DevX on the super chain. It's been an exciting couple months. We've got, Base has done extremely well over the last couple of years. Unichain, Inc., and several others have started to spring up, and so it's been a lot of fun. We've got great apps deploying a lot of assets in the ecosystem, and we're ever inching closely to interoperability and a connected set of massive superchain chains. So super exciting.
We're going to dive into that a little bit later in the spaces. I mean, this is the essence of what we were all talking about, right? When we started in Web three, it was quite a siloed or nature of business. All the different chains kind of competing for not only mindshare but also user base. And now we're getting into a very interesting place or era of Web three crypto, where it all starts to really connect and make it seamless and easy for the user. But we'll go into that a little bit down the session. Sam, how is everything on your side?
Really good. I mean, it's been a whirlwind few weeks. The community engagement and excitement has been pretty overwhelming. I'm very grateful to everybody who's excited as we are about um, launching Spark for real. And yeah, it's just been crazy. Yeah,
Crazy in a good way, but
crazy in a
also
good way. Yes.
and momentum is definitely on our side. So it's very exciting that everything kind of is checking the right boxes. We're obviously, from a community standpoint, we've basically exploded. We've got now over 62,000 followers on X. We've got about 32,000 community members on Discord, and our user growth is obviously it's growing at a very healthy, steady, organic pace. We've also successfully deployed South Korea as a community orientation, and also development in China. And you'll see that we've got a lot of multiple languages coming in from a crypto Twitter sphere. Right now, we've only got support for those two regions, China, and obviously that covers a few regions within Southeast Asia. But we've also got South Korea in play. We're obviously going to roll that out and do a lot more support in terms of community development. So look out for potentially Japan in the future and a couple other regions. But yeah, very exciting time. But that's from a social point of view. We're also blasting it on from a DeFi metric point of view. So do you want to just give us a quick update on some of the numbers that we're looking at currently across the ecosystem within Spark?
Yeah, so we've had pretty significant growth recently. We're up to about $3.6 billion deployed in the Spark liquidity layer. And considering this went live like just at the end of last year, this is pretty amazing. And so like really the Spark liquidity layer is designed to generate the best yield across all of CFI, DeFi, and TradFi opportunities, and it's been working like a charm. We're able, the latest I saw was about 4.9% APY being generated on this 3.6 billion, which for large amounts of capital, that's quite good. We're able to outperform the treasury bill rate, and so this gets returned to users who are deposited in Spark savings. This is why we're able to deliver this top of the market yield for our users. So yeah, the growth has been pretty great. A lot of new integrations have gone in lately. So, like Maple's been growing quite rapidly. This is off-chain Bitcoin loans. We see a lot of growth in this sector. A lot of interest from institutions. Like this is like this can scale to like several $billion more beyond what we've even seen so far. So yeah, just very excited to continue scaling this up. And as part of what we're talking about today, our multi-chain expansion. This is the other portion of the Spark liquidity layer. So we're doing investments on Ethereum, but also we want to support users wherever they are on all these different chains. And so, first launching Spark Savings on Optimism and Unichain has been very exciting. So now users can deposit into Spark Savings, and they will earn OP rewards on top of the already quite good yield that you get, 4.5% from the savings rate. And we're very excited to also be integrating the superchain interop, which these sort of efficiencies at the application layer just improve the experience for everybody, because it allows us to optimize the liquidity management so that we can continue to optimize this yield for Spark Savings depositors.
Yeah. And I mean, also just generally, it's just better UX, right? It's just an easier, more seamless experience, which is the objective. We just want to make it as easy for everyone coming into the space, and they don't have to be necessarily crypto native. We want everyone to come and participate in what we're building, in terms of a decentralized financial future and an inclusive future for everyone. So very, very awesome there. Piers, welcome once again. Do you want to give us a little bit of an intro to you? What's your story? What got you into Web3? And what do you think the vision for Optimism is, and obviously Unichain?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so let's see. I come from traditional financial markets background, so I spent a couple of years at Citadel building equities trading tooling for the hedge fund there. And while I was there, you work on tools for markets, for risk, for obviously was kind of the gateway drug for many into the ecosystem as it was myself. And so I remember a couple years ago, everyone was interested in Bitcoin. It was starting, it was kind of going through one of its volatile periods, and I had kind of just slowly dove down the rabbit holes. Like I'd be interested in like going deeper here. And I remember I was chatting with I think it was Sid, who led Coinbase Wallet for a long time, and it was my first intro into Uniswap. It was kind of like the first foray in. And coming from a traditional markets background, you go to the office at 7:30 in the morning, markets open at 8:30 in Chicago, they close at 3:30, and that was just like that was life. And I remember we started to talk about Uniswap, and I think I was like, oh, that's great. Like anyone can trade on it. And then I had asked this question that was something to the effect of, okay, well, what if like regulatory enforcement comes and takes down, like Hayden takes down Uniswap? And the answer was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. You can take it on a front end, but this market continues to run in perpetuity on chain with global access. And that was kind of like the light bulb moment where I don't think I fully grokked, what we were building or what was being built here until that happened. And the rest was history. I ended up going to Coinbase shortly thereafter. That was started on their institutional team, and then by the end of it, was leading the consumer on-chain business, the Bitcoin-backed loan product, and a bunch of other things before I left. And now, had an amazing time there. And a ton of mentors who helped build out my knowledge, and kind of was fun to work with Jesse and others on base. And eventually, got to a point where I said, Coinbase is going to be super successful at building this ecosystem on top of Base. But in order for us to scale the ecosystem, in order for us to build something that's going to be accessible globally, that's going to have global distribution and reach, went to Optimism, and want to make sure that we can build a globally accessible market with the best on ramps, the best liquidity, 24/7 markets. Get to work with amazing teams like yourself, and plugging into all of this, and how we actually make that happen at the application level. And so yeah, it's been super exciting. We've Base, like I said earlier, Base has been tremendously successful, and that's been awesome. It's been amazing to see kind of OP Stack then get adopted by a ton of other teams. Unichain, Inc., Sonium. World is another like super super fascinating case of we have these verifiable humans who are participating in this economy. And as we move forward, we'll talk about Interop more, but to date, we've had a lot of these chains that have been highly successful in kind of isolation, and now we get to a point in time where a lot of this liquidity gets connected. And to me, thinking about like market efficiencies, we think about Spark and the opportunity to generate either higher or more stable yield for the PSM as a way to improve not only the user experience, the developer experience, and how you guys do risk management underneath the hood. That more capital, more users, more access is so important. And so I think that has been really exciting. We're inching ever closer to that, and to build kind of like innovative products on top of Interop, not just the pure token passing, but a lot of the like actual connectivity to these chains. I think we're seeing a ton of innovation. Like I talked about, like with World Humans, we've got just amazing liquidity coming on from Base and others. And so I think as we move forward, we're going to see just an explosion of like not just token bridging, but tons of innovation here, and I think it's going to be super exciting. So
Yeah, very much so. I mean, you answered the next question I was going to have. What this partnership is obviously a no brainer for everyone sitting in this on this call and within the Spark ecosystem especially. But maybe if we can just highlight what really stood out for you in terms of the Spark narrative and what we offer. And I've got a feeling it's around the liquidity option and SLL. But do you want to just maybe highlight a
yeah,
little bit more about that?
yeah. I mean, so if you take a step back, I think you guys were alluding to this a little bit ago, like interop and kind of what we're trying to do with scaling. At Optimism, it's about scaling, but it's about user experience at the end of the day, right? And so I think crypto, it's a bit of a meme in terms of user experience. I think we're inching ever closer to a world where things are easier to use. And I think as we we had a ton of conversations with Sam and team. Spark has really exemplified, I think, user experience at the core. Right, the product is so powerful, but it's so simple. It's, hey, you want to earn a fixed rate yield on your stable coins, which obviously have been tremendously shown tremendous product market fit in recent months. And the simplicity of that is great. So like on a front end experience, it says it's such an easy value prop to communicate to users and to interact with. And then underneath the hood, so I mean that's number one. And then underneath the hood, it's really the connectivity, right? Like Sam and I were talking about this, I think, a couple weeks ago. Like you take a product like the existence of Spark on Base today, that's actually supplying a massive amount of capital to, say, like the Bitcoin backed loan product on Coinbase. And so the ability for liquidity to move to where there's real yield, real demand, is just something that it's not just like, hey, we're farming incentives and that's where a lot of your yield is coming from. It's a super access liquidity layer supporting like where there's demand, where there's supply and demand. And to us that was fascinating, and the ability for us to partner there and ideally find opportunities where interop it not just showcases something, but actually like materially improves, like lowers costs for Spark, improves connectivity, improves access for the protocol, and we can help uniquely differentiate Spark on the super chain was a pretty exciting value prop for us. So yeah, I mean it was a no brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, obviously you're CEO, co-founder of Phoenix, and you're largely the strategic mind behind the steps that we take to building what Spark will be in the future. How would you articulate this important step towards the vision or achieving your goals within the Spark ecosystem in terms of the connectivity, the interoperability factors that Optimism and Unichain bring to the foreground?
Yeah, as Pierce mentioned, I think a good example of what we're trying to achieve with the Spark liquidity layer is the Coinbase Bitcoin-backed loans. And so Spark is actually 80% of the capital that is supplied to that market. Previously, what would happen is that there would run into like scaling issues where Coinbase would have a lot of borrowers, but they wouldn't be matched necessarily with lenders, and so you would have this like volatile interest rate to the borrowers, and the experience would just be far worse. What this is, the label of this is liquidity fragmentation, and this is been a problem for Ethereum in the L2 roadmap. But with the Spark liquidity layer, we're actually solving this issue at the application layer, and so for US dollar stablecoins, we're able to fill this gap, but it requires a few different pieces. So for us, moving liquidity between chains is decently fast right now. We wait on settlement on Ethereum more or less for most of these chains, so transfer time is on the order of like 20 minutes at most. But with advances like the superchain bridge, we're able to do this almost immediately. So what this means is that our cost of capital for maintaining all these chains drops significantly with improvements like the superchain bridge. And what this translates to is just a better user experience for everybody. So these users on Coinbase that are using the Bitcoin-backed loans, they experience this as a much better experience. They get consistent rates when they're borrowing, but I think this is just the first of many that are going to have these sort of products that they can roll out to their distribution channels. I think many different exchanges like are looking at this. I think they're gonna, there's going to be a lot of following suit, and together, I think we're all just going to be. We're coming more from the DeFi side, but we have exchanges, CeFi, TradFi coming from the other side, and we just got to continue to improve things and bridge the gap basically. And improvements like the superchain bridge are exactly that.
Awesome. Yeah, fully agreed. Pierce, we bring the first yield bearing stablecoin right to the Optimism environment. Um, why only now? And what were some of the criteria that you were looking at in terms of which yield bearing stablecoin should be the right collaboration?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, from our standpoint, we're building an open ecosystem. So, obviously anyone can build, yield bearing stablecoins here. I think from why we wanted to deeply engage with Spark, we kind of talked about, but the timing was right, right? Unichain deployed a couple months ago. They have gone through a tremendous amount of growth over the course of the last couple months, running some campaigns over there, and we anticipate that they're going to be other big chains in the super chain. And so ensuring across Optimism and Unichain that we had a very strong, like a tier one, like the top of the food chain, if you will, yield bearing stablecoin is pretty important, right? So as a lot of these chains in the super chain go through kind of their ecosystem building phases, right? You kind of start with DEX trading to start, right? You build out like base layer liquidity of stablecoins versus kind of your native assets. And then you start to build out like the lending markets and some of the yield offerings on top of that once you can handle that level of liquidity. And so bringing in at this stage now, someone like a Spark is really important where now that these lending markets do have some level of like sustainable liquidity supporting them at the DEX layer, now we can start to generate real yield from a great product like Spark on say like Unichain or Optimism mainnet. And that's important, right? So as we move closer to interop in the second half of this year, now is really about kind of like those building those foundational layers. And now that Spark enters the picture, is now it's time to build liquidity, build adoption, and build integration of USDS or USDC into different parts of the ecosystem, right? So at the DEX layer, at some of the vault layers, and as Unichain is building out their ecosystem, it's immensely important to have outlets for users. So, and I think there's just going to be a ton of opportunity for innovation and trading. So, not just at the DEX level, but as they get into hooks and other ways that Spark can plug into those ecosystems, it was just timing was right, and we wanted to have ensure that we had like you want the challengers, the hungriest teams, and kind of the top of the food chain building on the ecosystem and the best quality products for users and developers to compose on top of. And so that really was important for us. And so excited to have it here. I anticipate. I think the growth over the last couple of days has been like insane over the last 2 days of just first deploying. And so I anticipate if that's any sign of things to come, we made the right decision by catching Sam and team as early as we did.
Yeah, awesome, man. So, I mean, stablecoin yields are not just a new shiny narrative, right? I mean, there was a meme that was flying around the internet with the recent Bitcoin conference, and like 90% of the talk was all about stablecoin. And obviously, that hit a few nerves within the BTC, a vehement loyalty camp. But so stablecoins are a very important part, I imagine, of the optimism future or the story, right? What role do you think that they're going to play, or significant role they're going to play within the broader breakout of what optimism might look like in the future?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I mean, so they play an important role in interop as well, right? The fragmentation today among stables, you get kind of like two levels of fragmentation across stablecoins themselves, but then more importantly across these ecosystems. And so, as I've mentioned earlier, like at the core stablecoin level, we're agnostic. We want people to build here, so we have USDC deployed on a bunch of different chains. USD deployed using the OFT standard, and they're going to lean into interop as well. And so you're going to start to have these stable coins available broadly across the chains. I think of them as composable Lego blocks for developers to build on, right? It's not just the mere existence of USDC and USDT zero and other stables that are deploying right now, but the ability for developers to compose on top of them. So folks like Spark or Morpho or whoever else who want to build on top of, say USDT zero or USDC will be able to build these like composable experiences, cross-chain experiences. And so stables have proven product market fit across the ecosystem, right? I think people want access to, well, let's call it relatively stable coins, beyond maybe inflation, other things that impact that over time. But they have proven their value, and I think between that and between I think what we're seeing is this kind of emergence of what we all had hoped for around like cross border payments and some other things that are happening at this point in time with folks like Bridge and others. We want to make sure that we're a leader there, and we're optimizing not only the ecosystem but even the OP stack, right? So as we bring faster, cheaper block space transactions to users, we want to make sure we can support those use cases. And stables will likely carry a lot of the value as activity moves across chains, as activity moves towards real world use cases of people borrowing against their crypto. And so having an abundance of that for people to build on top of is just immensely important for us at this point.
I totally agree. Obviously, we've got a couple of your, Optimism's user base on this chat streaming. We're currently streaming at about 1,790 people now watching the stream. So welcome. There's probably a lot of new eyeballs also. So Sam, a question for you for the Optimism user base. What are some of the distinct advantages of SUSDC and SUSDS?
Yeah, so this is the yield-bearing version of USDS, and SUSDC is the Spark version of this. And so what this enables is that we're designing this to be, there's lots of yield opportunities within, DeFi, CeFi, and TradFi. And so we want this product to be just like a no-brainer. This is the default place. So you have some stablecoins in your wallet, you have some USDC, and increasingly, we're supporting Tether as well. So if you have either of these stable coins in your wallet, they're not earning a yield by default. And so we want to be the go-to place where you can just park your funds. And because of our size, we're able to facilitate even quite large swaps on each of these chains, to the tune of, 1 million, 10 million, these kind of numbers. And so we just want to be the default place where, and once you park your money there, basically you have the Spark liquidity layer on the other end, which is the most advanced yield optimization engine working on your behalf, rebalancing across the different chains, the different lending markets, going into real world assets such as tokenized treasury bill products like BlackRock Biddle and others, going into off-chain OTC lending against Bitcoin through products like Maple, connecting into this Coinbase Bitcoin Borrow product that they just launched in January, which is now scaled to, I think, around 300 million or so now. It's been growing quite rapidly. And as I said, we're the ones supplying 80% of that market. But in exchange, the yield coming back from that is new yield that we can, and it's real sustainable yield that we can translate that back to people who have deposited into Spark savings. So this is the vision here, and there's also the wider effect that comes from all of this, which is solving liquidity fragmentation for Ethereum. We're big believers in the Ethereum and L2 roadmap, and we want to support the cause and grow the pie for everybody.
Awesome. I'm also just reading some of the comments from the chat that's going on, and people are very excited. So yeah, a lot of excitement in the market, which is great. The timing is fantastic. Let's just go back into some of the sort of the concepts that we were talking about, interoperability and this idea of a super chain, right? And that's why I think we all kind of got into this industry in the beginning. We wanted this interoperable, connected world where it was accessible to all and it was seamless. Piers, how close are we to this reality in terms of like what an actual super chain is? Are we there? Or if we're not there, what next needs to happen? What future Lego pieces need to fall in place for this to actually become a reality?
Yeah. So interop. It's a fancy term for the way things should be, right? Is like all these things should actually just connect, and we had to kind of go off the beaten path. Build these isolated ecosystems for scalability purposes, and now we come back to joining things, and really, like, for the audience and just for folks, it's like interop really can happen at two layers. You can happen at the token layer, and so there's been some amazing developments in this space over the last 2-3 years, right? Like folks like Layer Zero, Across, and others who've built like intent-based protocols. You can move tokens and liquidity today. And so for market makers and others who want to balance, whether it's USDT or it's USDC through like the Circle's CCTP, these options exist today, but there's certain latencies with them, right? So you wait for safety, for finality. If you're a developer, you want to wait and make sure you don't have issues with liquidity or double spend, things like that. And now we're hitting Superchain interop, which is native to the OP stack, right? So as this rolls out, whereas historically you've had to wait for safety purposes 2 to 3, maybe upwards of 15, 20 minutes, depending on the service that you use, we'll now be able to wait as much as 1 second. And with flash blocks, sub-second block times rolling out to the major chains in the superchain, we'll see sub-second just messaging between two chains. And that's a fancy way of saying assets can now move between chains within sub-second and in data. So crazy things that we've seen at that layer too. I've mentioned world a couple times, but proof of humanity and being able to use that within a block with sub-second across maybe base or Unichain, and so that's the future we're super excited about. We think that starts with asset bridging. And we'll see that in the second half of the year. So from like how close are we to really hit your question is, on testnet today, we already have what we call DevNet that supports 2-second block time message passing. So if you check out docs.optimism.io, there's a ton of content in there. It's developer facing, not user facing yet. But for developers out there who are thinking about building apps, you'll get a taste of the future that exists on testnet. And as we roll into the next couple months, this will roll out. We'll see upgrades to a couple of the existing Sepolia test nets for the major chains. And then probably Q3, Q4, we're going to see interop hit mainnet. And that's going to be exciting. We're going to see a lot of applications composing on top of it on day one. And it'll be interesting. I think it'll be a slow burn as we hit towards the end of the year. And then I think as the development paradigms and as the liquidity is there for people to start to build on, we're going to see a ton of innovation beyond just token bridging. I think that'll be where things start. And then inevitably we'll see folks like Spark and others start to really leverage it. And I imagine, the pure data, the availability of access to all these chains and the distribution they're going to bring is going to be pretty powerful. So it's imminent. I mean, we're almost there. The final finish line at this point in time.
We are almost there, but let me just throw a little bit of a curveball. What do you think challenges still sit obviously facing us or staring us dead in the face that we might not be acknowledging, because we do get very excited, we get hyped up because we're building something very exciting. What do you think might still need to be solved, or what do you think might be missing from the final kind of chess move to make it happen?
Yeah, look, I think when you take a platform like the existing chains in the super chain, we have billions in capital sitting on these chains today. So doing such like upgrades in such a safe way is immensely important, obviously. And so as we work through those upgrades, we'll see kind of a scaled rollout of interop to chains. And so we're working through kind of what that rollout plan kind of like actualizes is in mainnet. But we'll see. Like our priority first is safety of existing applications and user funds. And so, a lot of the like work around how does interop work and how do all the pieces work and are we there? That's all done. It's really about how do we move through the upgrade path? How do we move through migrating, the liquidity? So that'll be a big part of it. And then, like we've talked about before, there's like platform readiness, but there's also application and liquidity readiness, right? A lot of existing tokens were deployed on a single chain environment built for a single chain. And so now we're seeing this evolution. We have a tremendous relationship with a lot of the like app layer interop, the layer zeros, the wormholes, and the others of the world. And so a lot of those tokens will now start to adopt interop, which would be fantastic. Those tokens will move with sub-second latency. And so we'll see more and more liquidity, more and more assets get deployed multi-chain by default. So a lot of it is A, ship the platform safely, and then B, start to ready the ecosystem. Because there's these things will kind of happen sequentially, and so we're doing a lot of those things in parallel right now. On the Optimism side, for example, we're running a campaign called Super Stacks across the super chain, and a lot of this is focused on how do we build liquidity ahead of interop. And so we're nearing there. I think it's gonna be exciting second half of the year as some of these pieces come together.
There was a question actually about SuperStacks, when we're going to integrate that. So on the Spark side, what I can tell you though is we've got the snapping campaign currently live with the Cookie DAO team. We have now deployed Optimism in terms of the keyword set. So if you are listening or if you come across this stream, you can go out, and if you combine both keywords in terms of Spark and Optimism, you will be able to earn additional snaps. So I can't confirm if we're going to be doing anything with the super stack. We're more than open to have those discussions with you guys. So yes, let's do something in the future. But currently what we've just deployed in the last, I would say 12 hours, is we have integrated Optimism into our snapping campaign. So welcome to the team. We will be going out with that announcement later today. So if you're listening, and if you are a vehement Optimism user, and obviously you are a passionate Sparker, you will be able to combine these two ecosystems in terms of the content you produce, and you will earn extra snaps. So go ahead and snapping. Okay, guys, we are coming on time. I want to thank you, Piers, for awesome, very, very fast, but very awesome discussion. Sam, thank you very much. I know that you're also traveling. We've got a busy few weeks in front of us, very exciting few weeks. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but a very, very important time for Spark. Piers, thank you for taking time out of your busy day. to join us on Spark Spaces. Maybe a few final thoughts from you first, Pierce, and then Sam.
Yeah. Yeah, look, we want to build the home for DeFi on the superchain. And so we're going to continue to be aggressively seeking out developers and teams who want to build. We want to make sure the stack is tailored for finance, for many use cases for that matter. But, feedback always welcome. We want to continue to work with teams. So if you're interested in building here, please let us know. We'd love to see more innovative ideas, and just excited for what's next. If it's going to be an exciting second half of the year. I don't know. There's so many things coming down the pike at this point in time. So as things evolve, I think we'll see some major announcements, some exciting things happening, more real DeFi, more real finance plugging in to layer twos, and it's going to be an exciting time.
Awesome. Thank you, Pierce. Sam?
Yeah, completely agree. Very excited for the second half of this year. I think it's gonna be a wild one. Yeah, so I mean, I've known the Optimism team for a number of years now, and if there's anybody who represents the DeFi, the blockchain ideals, it's that team, and so we're very happy to be working with them. They've been a tremendous supporter of the space, and so we want to also support the space. And I think this collaboration, it's just the first step of a very deep and long collaboration. So very excited.
Yeah, I'd love to quote you on one of the interviews that you once had, Sam. Spark wants to be everywhere. And I think this is one of those key components to ensuring that Spark can be everywhere all the time. So awesome collaboration, awesome partnership that we've just deployed. So yeah, go over to Spark Savings and get some interest on top of your yield or boosted yield rewards. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to conclude now. Everyone who dialed in, thank you very much. And of course, this will be available post fact. So, guys, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to go off and snap and combine Optimism and Spark and earn some extra snappers. Guys, thanks for dialing in. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.